On July 1st, 2019, Bob Collymore took his last breath and left this world.
I told Wambo this and I told Kennedy this, like, I felt like an orphan.
When he was sick, I was always sending him Bible verses, and he was always assuring me that he was going to pull through. But God knows best.
Today we celebrate Bob and celebrate the beauty that he left for us to enjoy. I will read an entry from his diary, which he kept for 2 years. And the entry is from July 1st, 2018, a year before he passed away. In it, you will see what he was passionate and most passionate about. Sunday, 1st July 2018, day 52. New month, and hopefully the month that I go home. We woke up very late this morning as we had no commitments. When Boy finished her packing and started to sort out stuff for a final return home. As we had a late breakfast, we opted for an early supper at German Gymnasium at King's Cross. The weather was once again glorious, and the feeling in the air was light and very much summer. This was probably our final full day in London without the kids, as we'll be heading back home pretty much soon after she returns to London.
I first met Bob in 2008 when he came to Kenya on a trip with the Vodacom South Africa Foundation. I was immediately struck by his deep interest in understanding community issues. It was a deep and very genuine interest.
He was really a great example for young African business people. Business should not be destructive, should not be exploiting people, but it should really be part of the society, providing solutions, helping with the issues of climate, issues of inequality, etc.
Almost every single day I take my dog for a walk, and I'm reminded of Bob because when Bob came to Kenya for the first time, he came to visit me at my home on Lawa, and we went for a walk with my whole family and the dogs and everything like that. And I remember coming back and I was using my binoculars, and as I was scanning with my binoculars, I looked up and I said, "Wow, there are 2 lions up there." And when I said there are 2 lions up there, and I said, and they're watching us, immediately my entire family, dogs and everybody else, vanished and ran away up the road towards my house. But only Bob and I stayed. And Bob and I stood there and looked at each other and said, "What do we do now?" And then we slowly walked back. And afterwards I said to Bob, "Why didn't you run away too with my family?" He said, "Because you had the gun." Now, Bob didn't know that the gun that I had was a tiny little gun that couldn't stop any lion. But every day I'm reminded of that incident and of the relationship that I had with Bob, of his sense of humor. I remember, his sense of humor, his sense of style, his dress sense. Every day I'm reminded of Bob, and it's a good memory. And I still think sometimes Bob is there with me when I'm walking down that road with my dog.
He helped us understand that we can create and imagine a better world. Chowesa. He helped us understand that we can create and imagine a different way of working, where the business of business is no longer business, where we have to put people before profit. He taught us that together we can create and imagine a world where music and art can inspire the good in us and transform lives. He taught us that together we can imagine and create a corruption-free Kenya and a corruption-free world. He taught us that we can imagine and create a better world for women and children.
I remember when we used to sit in the government's yard in Trenchtown, over observing the hypocrites, oh, Being were the good people we meet. Good friends we had, good friends we lost, along the way. In this great future, can't forget your past, so dry your tears, I say, yeah. No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. Little darling, don't shed no tears, no. No woman, no cry. I remember when we used to sit in the government shot in Trenchtown. Then the Georgian would make the firelight so lot would burn in fires through the night, yeah. Then we would cook, Mama would cook cornmeal porridge, of which I'll share with you. My feet was my only carriage, so I'm gonna push all through, yeah. No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. Little darling, don't shed no tear, no woman, no cry. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. Ooh, everything is gonna be alright. Hold on, everything is gonna be alright. Oh, everything is gonna be. Everything is gonna be. Everything is gonna be. Ooh, no woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. Little darling, don't shed no tears. No woman, no woman, no woman, no cry. No woman, no cry.
It is a sad occasion, yet at the same time, it is really a celebration of the life of a great African man whose life really was a shining example for many African people, businessmen and young people. I did work closely with Bob in the B team, where trying to see how business can be part of the solution instead being part of the problem. And Bob really did the work in Africa. He formed the African chapter of the B team.
In 2010, when he had just arrived in Kenya, he had just begun to explore his purpose.
When he first came to take over from me in Safaricom, I really worried about it, that would he continue with the DNA of Safaricom, the spirit of Safaricom, a company with a purpose. Bob didn't just continue with it, he actually made it even bigger. And he made it really, he took that to the maximum of a company with a purpose and really lived it.
I, like many others, was truly excited when Bob joined Safaricom.
What he did with Safaricom was just amazing. That was a great company, pioneering, innovative, and at the helm of that company, Bob really ensured good governance in the company.
He turned Safaricom into the global example of what responsible corporate behavior and a deep purpose-driven business should look like. Frankly, well before the term became popular, he showed us all how you could combine a successful business with societal success.
Bob was the epitome of what it means to be a B-team leader. He did much more than talk about creating a better world, he acted. Bob stood out as an example of how you can lead a company to financial success whilst empowering millions and safeguarding our planet at the same time. His dedication to creating a fairer, greener, and more just world has inspired us to redouble our efforts to advance gender balance, reduce economic inequality, and protect our planet for the well-being of future generations.
Bob was never one for quick-term fixes. He wanted to know, why do less girls go to school? Why do harmful practices like FGM exist? Why do young people lack employment and entrepreneurship opportunities? And why, this big fundamental why for Bob, was why do inequalities exist?
When I first asked for Bob to be my successor, there were many people who thought that he wasn't the right guy. But for me, he was the perfect guy to take the role of CEO of Safaricom.
I think it was in 2012 that I first spoke with Bob. I hadn't met him. I had done my research, and I informed him that we would like him to join the UN Global Compact board. And he said he was in Washington, D.C. He asked me, why me? And I said, why not you? We've done our homework. And that we knew that he was going to do a fantastic job. He said he would get back to me when he arrives in Nairobi. And from Nairobi, he later got back to accept. And we worked together because he was one of the board members responsible for anti-corruption, which I was leading in the Global Compact then. And in 2014, we had the 10th year anniversary of the UN Global Compact. He came in from Nairobi to New York and came with Wambui, so I had the privilege and the honor to meet Wambui. And then in 2015, we organized the International Anti-Corruption Conference in Nairobi. Then, I think also it was early in 2015 in January, I'm not sure exactly, 2015 January, that we had, we organized an event in Nigeria, and he came, but he was almost deported because his visa was stamped 2014 instead of 2015. It was January, and he had to call me quickly because they had told him to go back, but he said the plane had left, otherwise they would have put him on the plane. And I had to come in and we obtained the visa on arrival. But he told me that he was well treated. But, I mean, Bob he took it very well. He wasn't angry, he was just joking. And, he will always remind me, only in your country, in the whole world, it is only in your country that I was almost deported.
I think every time you mention Bob, there's all these things, amazing things that he has done or that he is. Unaweza sikia, sijui alikuwa anaenda shopping suti wapi, sijui he runs this big company, and sijui anajiona na nani, sijui amevisit nani. So out of all these things that he has achieved as a man, there's only one thing that he has never been able to achieve. And this happened when I took him on sort of a tour to the informal settlement. Tulikuwa tunatembea Dandora, wapi, Isili, kila pahali. And then so we started this competition thing, a dare sort of. So nikamwambia, we agreed that whoever gets as many highs and hellos from the public as possible is the most famous of us two. And of course I won. Mini Giuliani, of course. So since that day, and it's always been about who's the brightest, who's the most famous, or who's all this.
I remember his lack of ability to dance properly. I remember he did this furi dance once and was on social media, and I think it has attracted a lot of attention and funny attention.
The other day, Annie, I was just randomly placed, and then Msaka said, "Hey, niaji, wewe nule rafiki ya Bob." I was like, man, I thought I was Giuliani, you know. So, yani, I've had instances like that. Oh, and another thing that I've done that nobody else has done. So I think I'm the only one who have sent him M-Pesa. Okay, ilikuwa ni 100 bob, but it still counts, you know. So that's how easy Bob was, and I can say a lot of things about him and who he was. But the only thing I like to say is that when he passed, and I told this, I told Wambo this, and I told Kennedy this, like, I felt like an orphan.
I remember vividly the day, a year ago at the end of the month, it was the Lewa Marathon on a Saturday, and I remember finishing the half marathon and getting a text message from Bob of congratulations. And he said, you know, you ran for all of us. But you know, that is Bob's style, that he thought of people, he always tried to make people feel better.
Bob was passionate about home. Bob was passionate about Kenya. As I was recalling the souvenirs and images I have of Bob Collymore, I immediately remembered a picture of Bob showing a young boy how to hold and play the saxophone. To me, this picture actually illustrates Bob's personality and also what he was fighting for when he created the Safaricom Jazz Festival. Not only was this festival an incredible musical experience, but it was also the reunion of exceptional people who all followed Bob in this incredible adventure of the music that moves you. To name just a few, Elizabeth, of course, and all the ghetto classic kids, Kavutha, and Wambui, Zahida, David, the DJ, and all the artists, among which Jeff Neve, whom I heard is going to play in honor of Bob today. I send you all my love.
This is a piece for a very, very special person. This person was called Bob Collymore. Great person that I met actually in Kenya. He meant a lot to me, and he still means a lot to me. And he did the most amazing work for his people in Kenya. And I wrote this composition for him because he's still in our hearts. And I want to transmit his message that he actually transmitted to our hearts when he was still between us. So this song is called Adagio for Bob Collymore.
Bob's always happy and positive outlook on life and passion for the visual arts. It's perfectly in style that we remember Bob with music and love. He touched so many in a special Bob Collymore way that we all miss so much and are grateful for. We know that Bob is here amongst us, watching over us and celebrating with us. He set an example for many of us, and I believe continues to do so by making us all a little bit better every day still. Enormous empathy, ability to listen to the deeper voices inside, and caring for the less fortunate was what drove Bob. Always in his own humble way, putting the interest of others ahead of himself. His love for Africa, Kenya, his extended family at Safaricom, but especially his pride of Wambui and the children. If he had one weakness, it was probably his inability to say no to the too many requests coming his way.
He really wanted to interrogate, to discuss, and to understand why things were as they were. I remember a discussion I had with Bob about gender-based violence, and he asked, why does gender-based violence exist? For him, it wasn't enough just to address the symptoms or what we saw. For him, to understand and address gender-based violence, one had to go to the very root cause. For Bob, simply addressing what we saw was akin to going into your kitchen, turning on the tap, letting the water run, and then going to mop it up afterwards.
Long live Bob, dressing in the grass. Nairobi, Kenya. This one goes to my big brother, Bob. I wish you were here. For everything that you've done for us. Me and my brother will make sure that we keep your legacy alive. Bob's legacy, we'll keep it alive. And we are willing to work with the foundation. Finally, just to give a lot of inspiration and courage to my lovely sister, my sister Rita. My God bless you. Thank you so much that you've done for me and for everybody. We need to keep Bob alive. Long live Bob! Right now we'd like to feature our percussion player. A big hand for Merci.
So my first encounter with one Bob Collymore, I remember we were having a launch for Safari 7 circuit when Safaricom was actually sponsored the rugby tournament. And I was the MC then, so it was at Kasarani. And I remember calling Bob Collymore on stage, telling him, yeah, the CEO of Safaricom, come on stage. And I was actually holding these miniature rugby balls in my hands. And the first poke at me that he ever had, he came up and I was like, Larry, for such a big guy, I did not know you had such small balls. And that was the first time that we had our encounter with Bob. And of course, you know, over the course of the years, every single time I was emceeing an event and he was there, he would always poke fun at me. That became like his signature joke every single time, the small balls joke. Thereafter, you know, over time, we got to become quite close friends. And one time Nairobi Horns actually were performing at the Michael Joseph Center. And, you know, he invited me at the back, you know, we were sitting at the back and he's like, Larry, you know, one day, I'd just love to go and perform in front of many people with my saxophone. That's the instrument of choice. He actually had some saxophones at home. And we made a pact and we actually decided, listen, let's give ourselves like 4 months. Within 4 months, we have time enough to get a saxophone and at least play one tune. And that's how it started. So over time, 6 months later, 8 months later, the challenge grew. And I think 2 Christmases ago, actually, you know, he called me. He's like, Larry, what are you doing? Come over, let's jam. So I went over to his place, and you know, we started playing a bit. And you know, that challenge grew. So he would record something that he's playing on the saxophone. He would send it to me. I would record something. I would send it to him. We had a 5-song challenge, and there's a song that I actually absolutely loved. One of them, when Marcus Miller was in town. Maputo is a song that I think every classic player knows, and it's the song actually tried to crack. Unfortunately, he could not finish it before he passed. So at least I owe him that much. It was a challenge to see who was going to finish the song before the other. So I think I owe him that much. I must learn Maputo, even if I'm a hobbyist saxophonist. Another song he absolutely loved was also Mercy, Mercy, Mercy by Cannonball Adelaide and Joe's Avenue. It's an easy track and he definitely enjoyed jamming to that one. Also, another one is Don't Worry, Be Happy. You know, I found him at his place with Jacob Asio. Always jamming to that track, you know. I mean, the message is clear, don't worry, be happy. But one that he, mastered quite well was Summertime. And that's a track that, you know, every time I listen to that song, definitely remember one Bob Collymore. So that is definitely one dedication to him. He played it so well. He always used to tell me that Peter Kenneth also played the saxophone. I've never seen PK playing, so I don't believe it. PK, we have to do Summertime together for Bob, okay? So, I mean, the memories are many. I could speak, you know, for hours on end, but he would absolutely hate it if anybody was going to speak more than 2 minutes. So, I mean, let's just play Summertime. Go easy, Bob.
Nikiwa na idea ya biashara, I always share with them. And vice versa, even he had ideas and he used to share with me. One of them was actually the jazz. So when he had the idea and he shared me, hey, we're thinking of doing this and this and this in Kambia, you know, no, because that's when they were doing the Safaricom Live. They just did the Safaricom Live and then they just wanted to do the Safaricom Live Jazz Festival. So Kambia Ufala because Kenyans don't like jazz and stuff. he proved us wrong and he did amazing work. I got to meet some of the best musicians throughout here, and I get to learn a lot.
Bob, it's a year since you left us physically. I'll be honest, I don't want to think that you are gone. And to me, most of the time, you are there, Bob. I feel you. I feel those moments. Your leadership, your love to our family, our time that we spent together in Kibera when you came to visit. I remember that day very well. You were late. You don't like being late, I know. And the first time when we met by the railway track walking down inside the Kibera slum, you started apologizing to me, Kennedy, I'm sorry for being late. Because you were late because you had a meeting with the president, Uhuru Kenyatta. And that's really a CEO of a big company in Kenya asking for apology of being late. Bob, that's the qualities of leadership of who you are. You treated people with respect and dignity, no matter who they were. And that's why your life was really full of fun. You have your jazz friend, my friend Giuliani. So you have this kind of amazing network of having people that you really love, no matter their status. Bob, that's our connection. But one more thing that is very important is how you love babies. And honestly, you love my children so much. When I found my daughter, Maridad, you are the one who gave me advice and saying, take that kid, take that baby. Now that Maridad is our daughter. And you took 2 weeks when Jessica and I were away to stay with our baby. You were really taking care of that child. And I remember, Bob, when I came to pick up Maridad, you were not happy. And you came back as if you're going to steal the baby, you know? So I remember Joshua telling me, Kennedy, watch out. Joshua Igara, like, Bob might be coming to steal your baby. You know, he cannot stop talking about baby Maridad. Bob, that's who you are. A CEO of Safaricom, sitting down, changing the napkin of a baby, holding Maridad. And then again, we had Oscar. You are an uncle, you are a father to these children. When you hold Oscar in your arms, Jessica, my wife, and I always talk about, like, let's do it Bob style. When Bob hold a child, they don't cry. And Bob, how you love the pictures of those kids. How you paid attention to all the details of the baby. Even when you got sick, you always do Zoom, how do you call it? You always call on phone, on video call to see them. Bob, you taught me a lot. Leadership. You taught me what matters in life. You taught me how to stay away from my phone at night and not to put all our life on this technology. My friend, it was me that we met. And the mark you left in this country, in Kenya, in the life of people who work in Safaricom, you are still felt up to now. You mean so much. And now we have a third baby called Baby Zen. Makes me cry because Bob could have been coming here every day to see the baby. You could have been holding Baby Zen. I'm also sad that the people you love so much, like my children, they may never remember the man who took his time, his energy, in just looking at them and just loving these children. Your name will be there. But I know, I don't think they will remember. And that makes me so sad because of that love you had with them. And then Bob, I remember the thing again in London when we were together and we were telling you how much, Bob, you're so good with our baby Oscar. And then he told me, Kennedy, look at my eyes. I wish I'd be there longer for Oscar, but I won't be there. I say, Bob, what are you saying? But you could see ahead. But then I thought you recovered, you were having fun, we were having dinner together with you, walking on the street of London, telling you about this Oscar. And you're like, no, I'll be there for long. Bob, you are a brave man. You are love, you are spirit, is still with us. You touch us in a different way. You know, Bob, we can't put you in a box. You know, Bob, I'm not a fan of jazz, but you made me become a fan of jazz. I mean, you taught us to love jazz. And you taught us to be kind. You taught us positions are not important. Important are people that you love. And you truly spend time with those people. And you never wasted your time on people you don't love. You really gave your best. Bob, anything you touched, when you touched Safaricom company, we saw magic. When you touched Shofco, you are the reason that people can now know my work in Kenya. You told me how much you love what I was doing. And we cannot let you down. I still think of you a lot, and I love you, Bob. I know your spirit is there. Thank you, my friend. Love you so much.
What we are doing with our graduating class is recording a beautiful song called Smile. It's a beautiful jazz song, and we're recording this in memory of our founder, Bob Collymore, who passed away a year ago. Bob played the saxophone, but he actually didn't play it in front of these children. He was really, really private about that. You could tell when he came to the orchestra, he would definitely have a leaning towards the saxophone players, and he would listen and he would give feedback that is not layman. He would give very technical musical feedback, so that you could tell he's quite an established musician himself. And he actually bestowed his own saxophone to one of the young players. We have woodwind, strings, brass, saxophones, flutes, and then we've got French horn, the whole brass section, trumpet, tuba, and then we have got one euphonium and all the strings. It's been interesting because of social distancing, so we've had to record in really small groups so that we can spread out.
He would come into our rehearsals. We loved it because he would come at the very beginning of the term, when we are learning new music, when it's very screechy, it's actually not very good sounding. But then he would come to the final product, and you had the opportunity to see what it was to hear what it was at the beginning, and hear it at the end, and of course know the journey that we've come through. And with that, he would really encourage. And that is experience they will live with for the rest of their lives, thanks to Bob Collymore. And so 1 year later, we still keep his dream.
These people who are 10 to 18 now, in another 10 years, there will be a different breed of artists in this country because of that. And that will never die. Every single person here has got an experience that is hard to represent every single time that they worked with Bob Collymore. So there's this legacy that is deep down in the hearts of the players and their families. That was Bob's vision. And I think for us, what you can say is thank you.
But he also gave me a sense of humility and understanding, and also admiration for the courage of Bob during his time that he was struggling with his disease, and he gave me that sense of, you can be in times of adversity, you can have courage, and you can still have a sense of humor. I remember going to visit Bob when he was in hospital, and every time, without fail, I'd get there. Bob was always impeccably dressed, style, everything, color matching. And I walked in, and he almost always remarked about my lack of dress sense, and even told the nurse that came to see me, he said, "Oh, this was my successor, but you wouldn't know it because of the way he dresses, and you can't find a scruffier individual."
pure joy, elegant twirl, shades of delight, cocoa hue, rich as the night, and an afro blue, afro blue. Two young lovers dance face to face with undulating grace. They gently sway, then slip away to some secluded place. Shades of delight, cocoa hue, rich as the night, and an afro blue. What can we, what will we do? Afro, dream of a land my soul is from. Hear a hand stroke a drum. Shades of delight, cocoa hue, rich as tonight, and an afro blue. What can we do? We are two, let us do an afro blue. And an afro blue. Afro blue. Afro
For once, Yani, if I have good news and I want to talk about Trump, no. There is nobody I can talk with in those extremes of both spectrums. If I want to talk about COVID, especially COVID, when COVID happened, there was, who can we just call and we share ways of making it better for all Kenyans? And I think he would have done a better job.
There are two events that I'd just like to recall in memory of Bob. The first was Kenyans for Kenya. Never before had a leader rolled up their sleeves and galvanized corporate Kenya in the way that Bob did. Through Bob's vision, through his partnership, through his own personal commitment, corporate leaders, Kenyans, all rallied around the singular issue of famine and hunger. Kenyans for Kenya was remarkable. Not only did it bring out the best of us in Kenyans, it brought the best of corporate Kenya, it brought the best of partnership, and together, that was an initiative that truly changed what business meant for Kenya. The second was in 2015 when the Sustainable Development Goals were announced. Bob very quickly saw it as a very important opportunity for the business, Safaricom and other businesses, to really galve around the promise of the pathway of the Sustainable Development Goals. Navigating what was then complex vocabulary, down to defining what it really meant for business, Bob led the way for Kenya, for the region, and internationally in really interpreting what the SDGs provided in terms of business promise and prosperity for humanity. Bob continued on the mission of pushing forward the SDGs to his very last, and for that we are truly grateful.
I'm part of what is known as the Boys Club, a group of people that Bob put together many years ago, and we stayed together up until he passed away, and we're still together. Now the boys came together and they said, listen, why don't we write a letter to Bob? Wherever he is, what if we gave him an update of what's happened in the last 1 year? So we put together a letter and they asked me to read it. And here goes. Dear Bob, or BC, or Captain, it is exactly a year since you left us. 365 days. Time does indeed fly. And it seems time has stood still at the same time. Wamboy and the kids are doing great, missing you more than ever. And the boys too are doing well. Although PQ's wife, Gifty, left us just a few weeks ago and should be somewhere where you are. By the way, if you run into her, welcome her and tell her to keep resting in peace. Oh, while you were away, something unimaginable happened. The world stopped. I mean, literally. There was a virus that came out of China. They called it COVID-19 or Corona. And it put everything on hold. Flights ground to a halt. Mad traffic on the highways disappeared. Sports, that's right, sports was completely halted. Boom, just like that. Movement across the globe ceased and the virus spread like wildfire. Right now, as we speak, nearly 10 million people across the planet have tested positive for the virus. It's like we are playing out scenes from a Hollywood horror movie. All of them frozen in time. Imagine you, Bob, you not having to travel on road trips across the globe. No jazz concerts in New York, no Formula One events to attend, no tennis, no cricket games, no outdoor activities, no contact with humans, unless you wore a mask. You, Bob, you, the captain, not having fist bumps or bear hugs and gentle pats on the back. Imagine that. Instead, now we elbow bump or shoe tap each other, and we all have to wear masks at all times, and we wash our hands all day long. We get our temperatures checked every time we walk into malls, and we get our hands sanitized every time we walk into grocery stores. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But it's the new normal. And life as we know it before has changed forever. Now, despite all this, the boys continue where you left them off, although we don't meet as often as we would like to. BT is still BT, the billionaire with the blue chip company. PK is busy getting wealthier by the day and purchasing fancy automobiles as a pastime. By the way, J.O. didn't get the job that you wanted him to get, but he's busy managing and running the biggest bank in all of the region. PQ is coping and managing as best he can. AKS is still under house arrest, but he's doing good. Lamine is still in Lagos, where he continues to thrive. As for the diaspora boys, well, they're doing great too. JP is in Trumpland. Enough said. The Rev is still doing his outdoor activities, now based in Addis, and Bart is still running the show in Brussels. As for me, I'm doing well. I miss you, my friend. I miss you more than you ever know. There's not a day that passes that I don't think about you. Your larger-than-life presence, your dry humor, your huge, full-toothed smile, your calm and reassuring confidence. I miss you, and we miss you, and one boy misses you, and kids miss you. We all miss you. 365 days and counting. It all seems to have gone in a flash, while at the same time, it seems to have stood still. Keep holding the fort out there, BC. Till we meet again. Love, the boys.
Bob's presence, Bob's wisdom, and Bob's guidance has been where we have been.
He affirmed my voice. I could be myself, and I can always be myself anywhere, any place, yani. And I'll never doubt who I am just because of him and an assurance that he gave me. So, mimi nasema tu asante, and I'm really, really honored to know him as a man. And whatever he is here now, but tu atuombe. I hope atucheki because he had the last laugh, unaona. And the last laugh basically anafanya tukasi tuanze kuwa soft.
As a fellow B-team leader, he was lovingly fierce. He constantly stood up for what was right, even when it was difficult. He was a pioneer, someone who changed the finance sector for good and gave access to financial services to millions. He then did the same thing in the energy sector. Most of all, he was one of the best human beings I've ever met, constantly compassionate, loving and wise. And I feel very blessed to have called him a friend in this world. I wish I was there with you all to celebrate his life and listen to the music that he loved so dearly. But just wanted to say, just wanted to wish you all the best. In English tradition, have a cup of tea.
I miss him. I think about him practically every day. He was a true friend. And I think that's the best thing you can say about somebody like that his memory will always be there, be very special, and remember him as a very special person.
I fall in love too easily. I fall in love too fast. I fall in love too terribly hard for love to ever last. My heart should be well schooled, 'cause I've been fooled in the past, but still I fall in love too easily. I fall in love too fast. My heart should be well schooled, 'cause I've been fooled in the past, but still I fall in love too easily. I fall in love too fast.
Greetings to you all. We've gathered today to remember a great soul. In the course of our lives, we aspire to be many things. We can aspire to be great leaders, admired by all people. We can aspire to be captains of industry and the best in our respective
trades. We can aspire to fame and fortune, to please our individual selfish desires. However, very few of us set out with a very simple ambition. The ambition to be great human beings. And even fewer have ever achieved that goal in the eyes of their peers, in time. But let me say that I feel confident to state that Bob Collymore did achieve this very rare goal. Bob managed to be many things. He was a humanitarian. He was a brother. He was a friend. He was a leader. He was a mentor to many. He was an advisor. Yet in all these things, his interest in the greater good for all people shone through. For a man with such a lofty perch in life, it was humbling how many times he spent helping those who were often forgotten or ignored by society to feel respected and included. It was this simple, charismatic thing that made Bob stand out in a room full of his peers, and which ultimately drove his dedication to service throughout his life. Those like myself who engaged with him privately know that his patent vein of charity and mentorship began long before he came to this beautiful country, Kenya, a country that he ultimately made his home. Countless numbers of Kenyans are beneficiaries of Bob's generosity. Many were privileged to feel his embrace, an embrace of a brother who firmly but gently connected. He honestly advised, even when we ourselves did not know we needed advice. We experienced a selfless, charismatic, and bold leader who started down a myriad of challenges right up to his last day with his signature smile and calm demeanor. As a close friend and indeed a brother, I can say that Bob Collymore became more than a great human being. He became an inspiration that challenges each and every one of us to be better than we are today. We remember you, Bob, and may God continue to give you eternal peace and rest.
I hope that this time has brought you peace and expanded your space for love. In continuing with Bob's legacy, I'd like to announce the Bob Collymore Foundation. In it, we will continue with Bob's legacy that sees work in the arts and in music and in sustainable business. Our hashtag today is celebrating Bob. Please use it to share your thoughts, your words, and if possible, a video that we can add to our global celebration of Bob. Please visit us online in the details below. And now, I'd like to announce and welcome the man we've all been waiting for, Bob Collymore, as he plays Ain't No Sunshine. Thank you.